Okay, once again, if you want them to do the bell assignment, feel free to have them do so. They need to work them at their own seat, put their answers on the board, and then you can go through them with them before playing the rest of the video. If you want to do that, you can pause this now and then move on whenever you're ready. What we're talking about today is Lesson 58, Solving Percent Problems with Equations. We may solve percent problems using proportions as we did in Lesson 48 or by solving a percent equation. So the percent equation they get with this statement right here. And that statement is a percent of, of means to multiply a whole, this is the whole part that you're talking about, is means equals a part. Okay? So this equation is going to help you with this lesson. The factors in product in the equation above are the percent, the whole, and the part. If two of the three numbers are known, we can write and solve an equation to find the unknown number. If we are given the percent, we convert the percent to a fraction or decimal before performing the calculation. For any percent problem, For any percent problem, we may choose to express the percent as a decimal or a fraction. We might make the choice based on which form seems easier to calculate. For some problems, the calculations are tedious, so we might choose to express the percent as a decimal and use a calculator. Hold on, somebody's knocking at my door here. Okay, I apologize for that. The example, 32 ounces is 25% of a gallon. How many ounces is a gallon? So what we're going to do is we're going to write it just the way that we read it. Okay? 32 ounces, so I'm going to write 32, is means equals, 25% is just 25%, of means to multiply, and of a gallon, we don't know how much we're talking about there, we're just talking about G. Okay? Before I can solve this, I first, hold on just a second, gosh darn it. Okay. So once we have this, we can't find G until we have 25% written as either a decimal or a fraction. So, in my opinion, it's easier to do things with the decimal because I'm kind of lazy and I like to just plug it into my calculator. So we can remember one of two ways to change a percent to a decimal, and that is either 25% divided by 100, or we can remember that whenever there's not a decimal shown, it's understood behind it, okay? And we can move that decimal 2 times over. So that means that I have 32 equals 0.25 times G. To get G by itself, I have to divide by 0.25 on each side. These will cancel, leaving me with G equals, and then I take 32 divided by 0.25 and I get 128. And whenever I label this, it says how many ounces is a gallon, so I'm going to say 128 ounces is a gallon. Okay? Mr. Smith bought a used car for $8,500. The sales tax rate was 7%. How much did Mr. Smith pay in tax? Okay, this one isn't one that we can really just write it the way that we read it, but if we go back to the very first slide, we can remember our percent equation. So that is the percent times the whole equals the part. So we're going to write percent times the whole. Whoops, I didn't want to put a P. Sorry. The percent times the whole equals the part. So I know the percent for sure is 7%. And I'm going to multiply that. Now, the whole is going to be the entire portion that we're talking about. The whole thing that he bought. The whole thing that he bought was a car for that $8,500. So I'm going to put 8,500 here, and that's going to equal P. Now don't go crazy trying to figure out what you're going to do. Look at what the problem says. It says 7% times 8,500. So once again, I'm going to change that 7% by swooping that decimal over 2 times. So I have 0.07 times 8,500 equals, punch that into your calculator, and we get $595. Okay. For the following percent problems, decide whether it is better to express the percent as a decimal or as a fraction. Okay, it doesn't want us to solve these problems. It wants us to decide what's better, either a decimal or a fraction. So the sales tax rate is 8.25%. What is the sales tax on $18.97? Whenever we're trying to decide what is best, it's usually what is easiest. So in this case, it's going to be easiest for us to just move the decimal place twice to change it to a decimal instead of trying to figure out what 8.25% is whenever we have to set it up as a fraction and then reduce it. It's way too much work. So for A, we would say it would be best as a decimal. And if we change that to a decimal, we have that 8.25%. Once again, we take the decimal point, we move it 2 times, so we'd have 0.0825. On B, it says shirts are on sale for 33 and 1/3% off the regular price. How much is saved on a $24 shirt? Now on one like this, it's already written with a fraction in it, so it's probably going to be easiest for us to do it as a fraction. Hopefully all of us know what 33 and 1/3% is as a fraction. I hope you're answering 1/3 right now. Okay, so on this one we'll say fraction. And 33 and 1/3% is the same as just 1/3 as a fraction. And the reason that this is the best way to go, you could change it to a decimal, but whenever you do that, you're still going to get 0.3 repeating, okay, because it's going to be 0.33333. It keeps going. And we want to make it as exact as possible. So the most exact answer is going to be without that repeating, because we can't plug in 0.3 repeating into our calculator to multiply. So we would change it to a fraction and then multiply it. Blanca correctly answered 23 of the 25 questions. What percent of the questions did she answer correctly? Once again, remember that the percent times the whole equals the part. It says nowhere in this problem anything about a percent, so we are not going to know what the percent is, so we're going to put x. X is being multiplied by the whole. The whole will be the whole test. How many questions were on the test? 25. And that's going to leave me with the part she answered correctly, which was 23. To get x by itself, these are multiplying, so I'm going to do the opposite and divide. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. Cancels, I have x equals, and I take 23 divided by 25, and that gets me 0.92. Did it ask me for a decimal? No, it asked me for a percent. So to change this to a percent, instead of changing it by moving the decimal to the left to change it to a decimal, I'm going to take the decimal to the right and change it to the percent. So this is going to be 92%. Your homework for today is lesson 58, A through G, 6 through 19. Please make sure that this gets put on the assignment board and on the little board for the next few days. So be good, get your homework done. It will be due when you walk into the room tomorrow.